Welcome to Presentation 101 and Meeting 110. Have at it. Hi guys. We are discussing interviews today, so let's begin. So we started off with like some tips and tricks of like how to go through an interview, and what we decided that were like good tips were like firm handshakes and how to present yourself and always be like making eye contact, because that gives like, it puts across that you're interested and like you're really focused on what's going on hand. Being punctual is really important, because if you're late, then that just kind of shows that, well, if you're late to the interview, are you going to be late to work? Like, it doesn't look very good. We said dress to impress, because you don't want to come in looking like a homeless person. You want to look like you are professional and that you were there for the job and that you are ready to go. We put confidence as key, because we felt that if you aren't confident in yourself, then what is going to make that person who's going to hire you be confident in your like job? Some don'ts are obvious, because, I mean, don't give up too much information about yourself that isn't good, I guess. Previous employers, if that topic is brought up, just talk politely. Don't ever bash or talk down about other employers. We put don't chew gum, because it's kind of surprising on how many people come in for interviews with gum in their mouth. It's a distraction for the person who is interviewing you, and it's kind of like you're focusing on chewing rather than talking. We put don't be rude, just be as polite as possible, just kind of cheese them over. So that's what some of our tips and tricks are for interviews.
And necessities for interviews. One important thing when it comes to interviews is to make sure you bring your resume. And you want to make sure that you're not too wordy, and that you basically just list your skills and your job history, and that you're specific to what you're applying to and apply those skills to how they can transfer over to the job that you're applying for. And it's also important to do your research before you go into the interview, and that you make sure you know what questions to ask beforehand, and basically that you know as much about the company as possible and what the job entails.
Common interview questions. Tell me about yourself. That's basically the first thing that they ask you. Why do you want this job? Why did you apply? Why should we hire you? What are your career plans? That's very good that you should have that like at hand, that you already know what it is that you want to pursue. And your salary expectations, and if you have any questions, basically.
And the handshake is a really good way to start the interview. And for the good handshake, you should like sincerity of the smile and show the strength of the handshake. But sometimes I notice people say handshake very slight, so the sincerity doesn't show in their actions, and it's a good way to put the first impression about the boss. And I think I can show the good way of the handshake with Amy. Oh. Hi, I'm Margaret.
Hi, I'm Amy.
And for the bad way, it's always like the
It's always good to do follow-ups after a interview. You always want to like call them, like remind them, like, hey, I'm Amy. I just came in 2 days ago. Like, where are you on your process? Like, honestly, bug them. Just bug them. Because then they'll know that you're persistent, and when you're persistent, that's a good key or quality. And always stay in a positive mood. Don't be like, oh, like I was just wondering, like, just be happy. So we did a really hilarious thing. We did an interview a good way and a bad way. So we're going to show you guys our interpretation of the right way.
push click control and then click on it? No.
I think you need the video along with the presentation for it to recognize where the video is. Like it's the one playing. Yeah.
A file?
Yeah.
Did you put it on YouTube? No.
Yeah, it's really quiet, so I couldn't even hear it sitting right in front of me. I was hoping that when I got it here, it was on there.
So you guys want to, this is where you're doing a presentation. How might you pun? Do you want to just do an ad lib and share? You got to figure out, you all thinking about it, what you would do in the same circumstance. So
any of you guys, do you guys have bad experiences in the work or when you've gone into an interview that you want to share with us? Anybody? Somebody? You?
Jeez, put him on the spot.
Something that's happened to you, like in an interview that you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. That just broke my chances.
Maybe show up late, but
You showed up late?
but then that caused me to like have anxiety.
Did you get a call back?
No, I tried calling back. No, they were really cool about it, but
How about you?
I got one.
Or a good experience?
I got one.
Okay.
Okay, so I believe too. Call, be persistent. But I found out in the long run, I called too many times. I was too persistent, and they're like, "This girl bugs. This girl she's gonna be bugging in the office." And I found out later on that it was like if you called way too many times, there's an end point. There's like a limit of how many times to call. But it's a positive to call back maybe 3 times and see, and then or if you're leaving messages, wait a couple days, call back again, and then after a while you leave the balls then in their park, because I did that persistent phone call thing because I really wanted the job. I didn't want them to think that I went to the interview and someone else is calling now, and I just don't care. And anyway, it turned out to be that it was too many times. So there's a limit, I think.
how about you?
Not that I can recall,
but I feel like if I get nervous too, it blows the whole thing.
Or what's something that you know that you would go into an interview and you'd be like, yes, if I do this, I know that I'm going to blow them away. Is there something like that?
Open, confident, and sure of my qualifications and stuff. I think that's a good indication.
Why was it working in there? Till I got to work on my computer, so.
So should we just act it out real quick?
Heck no. Honestly, you aren't going to be able to hear anything. It's in my email. Do you guys want to watch this one? Because this one's hilarious.
Next time we should just think about it.
I found this on the internet and I thought it was
started. This is your resume? Yep. I want you to give me a job because I'm good at cleaning the whole house. I'm good at cleaning your. I'm good at making dinner. I'm good at making. I'm good at cleaning the toilet. Is you good at computers? Yep. What do you know about computers? I know how to turn on the springboard with the computers. I know how to turn on the fire. Hey, how you learn about computers? I learned about them from preschool when I was 3. I'm so smart. What's about 2? 4. What is 3 for 3? 80. 6. I know. What million plus million? 300. A zillion! What is 2 million plus what? 44. Why should I hire you? I just want to be hired. I'm really good at pushing buttons. Okay, hired. You're hired. What if we switch chairs? No. You fire now. I was just joking. You're hired. How much we had to pay you? like for 300 money. You have to pay me this much money, or I'm not gonna work for you. You fired. So you fired for real. Not joking. Chloe was good at cleaning your rooms, good at cleaning your whole house, good at sharing.
That was so cute. That was really sweet.
So that's what not to do in an interview.
I mean, I don't really want to do it. No, that's it. All right, so we're done. Thank you very much.
All right, we're group 2, and we're going to be doing a presentation on positive psychology. We've got a little video to introduce you.
Positive psychology is the scientific study of what makes life most worth living. It is a science, and science requires testing theories against evidence. It is not a sequel to The Secret, and should not be confused with untested self-help, fly-by-night motivational speakers, or New Age philosophy. Much of psychology has been concerned with answering the question, what is wrong with you? It has sought to make individuals less miserable, to treat pathology and mental illness. The goal of the positive psychology movement is to make normal life more fulfilling. It asks the question, what is right with you? Instead of trying to help a patient go from -8 back to 0, the goal is to help individuals move up the other side of the scale. The field is intended to complement, not to replace, traditional psychology. It does not seek to deny the importance of studying how things go wrong, but it does assert that strength is as important as weakness, and that it is just as important to build on the best things in life as to repair the worst.
Okay, so a part of positive psychology is optimism and pessimism, and optimists are able to see the best in every situation. They are able to define obstacles and challenges and overcome them and see through these challenges and see them as opportunities, whereas pessimists overlook the positives in their lives and focus more on their problems. Pessimists see negative events as permanent, and they see failures as something caused by their inability to do something. Pessimists believe that their successes are caused by mood or effort, and they believe that good events are out of their control. They also believe, or pessimists are more likely to suffer from depression. Optimists see good events as something that is created by their ability, and they see good things in their life and they look up towards it, and bad things they see as temporary or specific, and they find a reason for it to happen. And, like, for example, they would say, I had a bad day, instead of blaming it on themselves.
All right, we put in a couple studies that have to do with positive psychology. The first one talks about a nun study that was done. They took 180 nuns and asked them to write essays, and they rated how positive the nuns were on the words that they used in their essays and their positivity and enthusiasm through their word choice. And then they used nuns because they are so similar to each other. They all live in the same conditions and eat the same food and stuff like that. So that's why they use nuns. And they found that as the nuns aged, 90% of them that were in the most cheerful quarter were still alive at age 85. while only 34% of the least cheerful quarter were alive at that age. And then 54% of the most cheerful nuns were alive at the age of 94, compared to only 11% of the least cheerful quarter at the same age. So basically, if you're happy, you can live longer. The next study that we threw in here was the colonoscopy study. They took 682 patients, and they put half of them through the normal colonoscopy procedure, and then they put the other half through a procedure that added an extra minute to the end. That was just a minute of immobility, and they found that even though the procedure was longer, the second procedure was longer, they came away with a more positive memory of the experience because they remembered less of the discomfort and like than the other people did with the standard procedure. So that just shows that they like the ending of an experience has more to do with your memory, like as a whole from the experience. Another example of that is like a relationship. If that relationship ends on a bad note, you're probably going to remember it as a bad experience, but if it ends on a good note, you might remember it as being better. This graph shows like a happiness level on the left side there, and then household annual income on the bottom. The line goes up when like you get happier if you're able to provide like the essential food and shelter, and you're not worried about that kind of stuff. But then the line levels out, and basically over here you have like you're making $140,000, but you're not that much happier than someone that's only making $40,000. So basically, you can't buy happiness.
That's a good expression. I think you should hold on to that. You can't buy happiness.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about pleasures versus gratifications. And the main point of this presentation is happiness in the present moment consists of very different states, from the happiness about your past and about your future, and embraces two distinct kinds of things, which are pleasures and gratifications. So pleasures are things that can give you an instant sense of satisfaction, like a cookie or, I don't know, a shot of alcohol. Something like that, something along those lines. It's momentary, it's fleeting, it has clear sensory and strong emotional components, and we become accustomed to these pleasures very quickly. And the habituation of pleasures is an inviolable neurological fact of life and can actually lead to cycles of craving and ultimately addiction. So like food addiction or drug addiction or things along those lines. And there's a clear distinction between pleasures and gratification or gratifying experiences, which would be like if you go to the gym every day for a year. Like you don't get pleasure in the present moment, but when you look back at all the work you've done, you have a great deal of satisfaction and accomplishment about all of your work. So it's much more deeply rooted than pleasures and gives you a lot more life satisfaction. Involves few, if any, emotions in the moment, but a wide variety of positive feelings afterward, like nostalgia and, like I said, satisfaction. So gratifying activities engage us completely and generally push us to our limit as far as our skill level goes. And sometimes if our skill level and the needed skill level for the activity meet perfectly, we enter a state called flow, which is a state in which you somewhat lose self-consciousness and you become completely absorbed in your activity. A lot of people get this through writing or surfing, rock climbing. It could be almost anything. It has to be something that you really enjoy doing well. And the whole point of flow is that it gives you a strong sense of satisfaction after the fact, even though in the moment you aren't consciously enjoying the moment, really. It's more of a immersion type thing. shortcuts to happiness diminish the gratifications of life and transform them into pleasures. One example of that is how our food system works these days. Gratification used to come out of getting our food because you could grow it or you would hunt it, and it would be a whole process where you actually had to put in effort to get your food, and that way it became something that was very satisfying. Whereas now we just go out and we simply pick out what we want from the store, and it's become less of a gratifying experience eating food and more of a pleasure.
There's several ways that you can exercise positive psychology that I'm going to talk about. The first one is at the end of each day, just writing down 3 good things that happened during that day, or like things that made you happy or accomplishments. And even though it seems little, this can help you end your day on a good note, and also makes you more like aware throughout your day to like notice when good things happen. The second one is mindfulness, and we purposely left this one empty because it's kind of supposed to represent what mindfulness means. It's just kind of like, it's like a form of meditation. You can do it by like focusing on your breathing, or and it helps you just clear your head and like organize your thoughts. And through practice, it can become very powerful, like a very powerful, life-changing thing. And the last way to exercise positive psychology I'm going to talk about is by savoring moments. And by doing this, you just basically live in like the now of the moment. So even if it's just something little like a meal, or like something big like appreciating a friendship or something like that, just like appreciating the moment and like enjoying it to the fullest will definitely help you become happier.
Okay, so what does it all mean? So your signature strengths, so these are your inherent abilities. They're typically things that you enjoy, so if you're able to, incorporate these into your daily life, you'll definitely have a lot more satisfaction and pleasure. Examples would be wisdom and knowledge, so it's creativity, open-mindedness, perspective, love of learning. So wisdom or reason is the chief virtue in making all others possible. Courage, which would include bravery, persistence, authenticity. It's viewed as a corrective strength. Humanity, love, kindness, social intelligence brought to bear in one-on-one relationships. Justice would be fairness, teamwork, leadership, broadly social, relevant to relationship between individual and community. Temperance would be traits that protect us from excess, so self-control, modesty, prudence, mercy. And I think this is the last one. Transcendence, so appreciation of beauty, gratitude, humor, hope, spirituality, allows individuals to forge connections to the larger universe, providing meaning to their lives. And then a couple of us took this test on AuthenticHappiness.com if you're interested. They took about 24 strengths and they kind of split it into 6 different categories. It was really neat.
So the main reason you might want to find out what your signature strengths are is because, at least from my experience, it makes a huge difference if you're able to incorporate all of your strengths into your daily life. Like, for example, my top strengths are creativity, appreciation of beauty and excellence, and honesty. And I found that another exercise that you can do is just basically making like a little graph or a table to try to figure out how you use each of your strengths throughout the day. And I've noticed from my experience that every day I'm able to use all of my strengths to their fullest extent. I've had a great day. Whereas if I'm not able to, it's not so great. It's lacking something. I'm missing some drive inside of me that's making my days that much better. So finding out your signature strengths is a great way to show, even on your resume, to show what abilities you have inherently and what you can develop even further and bring to the table. And it's also just really important in life you're able to incorporate all of your signature strengths into whatever career that you want to move into, then it's going to be a very satisfying career. Whereas if you're not using the strengths that are your top, you're going to feel like something's kind of missing. So if you want to take a survey to find out what your character strengths are, authentichappiness.com. You just got to register really quick, and then you go to the VIA survey of character strengths under the questionnaires tab. And it's about 240 questions. It only takes like 30 minutes though. So. That's it.
I will put that on the website on our Moodle shelf. So if you invite Sean, and maybe you email me, I'll be happy to put that on the Moodle so people can take care of that.
So our presentation is about Generation Y and baby boomers in the workplace. I'm Ruby.
Kim.
And to start off, we went on the internet and found a video that kind of introduces our topic.
Have you ever wondered how you can better understand Generation Y? Gen Ys are coming into the workplace in droves, and as they become an increasingly large share of the workforce, they will have a greater and greater impact upon the way work gets done. To better understand them, it helps to simply pretend they are French. If they were French, you would know they have a different cultural background than you, and thus you would have a more open mind, curious about how they see the world, interested in their culture, language, and communication style. The frustration of many people is that they think Gen Ys are the same as themselves, only younger. Therefore, if Gen Ys don't respond the way they expect them to, then you're frustrated. What people don't realize is that Gen Y is as different from other generations as Americans are from the French. The root cause for the generational clashes in the workplace is not Gen Y's inexperience. It is the cultural divide. The reality is Gen Ys have been raised in a world that is fundamentally different from previous generations. And as such, their outlook is vastly different from those of us who came before. One huge influencing factor for this generation is that technology is an integral part of their lives. This has led to their inclination toward rapid interactions and a desire for instant feedback. This attraction to immediacy influences their perception of success, the timetables they set for achieving their goals, as well as their communication style, which has been shortened to text abbreviations and 140 characters on Twitter. Another factor impacting Gen Y is that they were raised being told they could change the world, and they believed it. Plus, they have seen peers in their generation do just that. Now, they want to change at least their corner of the world for the better. But when they want to change the places where they work, they often run into frustration from coworkers who have a "that is not the way we do things around here" mentality. This resistance to change comes as a culture shock for Gen Ys, as they are now part of a workplace culture that was created by previous generations who have a very different way of seeing the world. A key insight into working with them is to understand that they will not fundamentally change nor be fixed, for they are not broken. They desire a different way of doing things because they have been hardwired to be that way. So, the question is, do you fight or adapt? If you are going to fight what is coming, good luck. You may win the battle, but your company will lose the war. Instead, be willing to adapt and seek to better understand Gen Y. Be willing to see the world from a different point of view. It's not about giving up your way of seeing things or doing things to be just like Gen Y, but rather it is about seeing it as a cross-cultural experience, which requires learning and adjusting on both sides of the generational divide. It is about sharing your generational culture with Gen Ys and then also learning from theirs. It is about leveraging the skill sets of each generation to create high-performing teams. Be open to different ways of doing work. Use technology and Gen Y's unique point of view to get new insights into old problems. With Gen Y's youthful dreams, they see possibilities and opportunities where others often don't, and they are eager to help change their corner of the world. Use this generation's passion and desire for change within your teams to add drive and energy. If you are interested in tapping the power of Generation Y, give us a call. We can help.
Okay, so let me introduce you into Generation Y, which is often referred to as millennials. And you're considered to be a millennial if you were born between 1982 and 2000. And well, some of the characteristics about them is that they're fame, like they're obsessed with fame, I guess you can say. And what that means is that they're always like, they always want to be the center of attention. And what else? Okay, so and since they were born like around the technology area, I guess you can say, they tend not to use their brains to their full potential, which is like in a way bad because they don't really like use what other people used to use. Like for example, if they like let's say like in a class, like if you were to use like a calculator to figure out like an example, an answer for like a math problem, like then they basically just they get the answer from the calculator instead of using their brain. And they're very social, and they're always worried about the opinion of others. Like for example, let's say, well, I see it like a lot, like on Facebook and everything, like girls take pictures like when they're like in the fitting room, and just to get like the approval of others. And they also they don't respect authority. Like they're always like willing to do anything they want to do, and they don't care what other people have to say about it.
And then they're also like really adaptable too. Like depending on like circumstances and stuff, they'll adapt. Especially like a lot of people don't accept certain like people, like gays and stuff, and like we're really accepting. And then we've also created a new language, like when we text, we don't like to text a lot. I mean, like text long messages, or we'll just say instead of writing the whole word "you," we'll just write the letter "u." And then we avoid person-to-person contact, which makes our connections done through internet instead of person-to-person.
And then now we switch to the baby boomers, who are a generation who came out of World War II, and they're post-war optimists who believed in the American dream and started a job and stayed with the job out of college and followed it all the way through to retirement. I believe they were 1940 to 64 is when they were born. They have a different way of working. They're resourceful and hard workers. They believe in gathering information and using tried and true, ways of getting information and formulating ideas, whereas the Ys tend to get things quickly and move on to the next thing really fast. The baby boomers generally don't like to mix professional life with personal life. They don't do the whole crossover. They're more workaholics, and they like to work, and provide for their families. They believe in history, experience, and wisdom, and they believe in face-to-face communication and tried and true ways. If you need something, you pick the phone up, you call somebody. They like having people in the offices instead of working at home or in some computer, just with computers. They like having people around so they can bounce ideas off of them. They're really slow to embrace social networking, which is something that they don't believe in, because I think that crosses over a lot of the personal lives with their professional lives, and that's something that they don't do.
This is kind of like the dress code difference. The baby boomers dress very properly, and there's like a very distinct between girls and boys, like skirts, nice shirts, the shoes, and then the Generation Y. It's kind of
dress how I would want to dress. Like if we're comfortable in sweats or
this is kind of a chart that shows the differences between the baby boomers and the Generation Y. And one of the things that really sticks out about the baby boomers is that they're really personal. They'll look you in the eye. They want that whole social, face to face. In comparison to Generation Y, who's more over texting or email, and even calling is kind of hard for us because we're so used to just instantly just typing a message and getting a message back.
And then unlike baby boomers, we like to balance work and family, and we also we aren't afraid to change. If we want, let's say we go into this job today and then tomorrow, there's an opening over here, we're gonna go for it. We don't stick to, oh my god, I have to stay at this job forever. No, we like to change and see what's out there. And then we also, we're in the job because we want it, not because we want to work for them. It's because we're happy there.
So something that's bad, in the workforce for millennials, is that they're always they can be described as opportunists. They get a job, and the first thing that they want to know is that they want to get vacations, So they're not even in there for a long time, and they just want to get out of it already.
One of the things I found most interesting too is that right now there's a melting pot of different generations within workplaces where the older people are staying longer and the younger people are coming in, and then there's no executive jobs for the younger people because of the older people still being there. And so now they have to work, they all have to come together and work together and get along, and so it's just kind of a different time.
As a group, we thought that the solution was to see the way each other grew up. The Ys should see that the baby boomers grew up in a time where there wasn't very much technology, or it wasn't nearly as advanced as it is today. And they grew up in a different time as well. And the baby boomers should see that the Ys grew up in this generation where there's just a ton of technology, and that's how they work. That's how they get their resources, is from the technology.
So I just think for us, the best thing that the boomers can learn from the Ys is, just social networking within a company, because it might drive the company forward instead of staying stuck in their old ways. And the younger people have a lot to bring to the table.
So then, also what we should take into consideration, let's say they're working in a very powerful, an office or something, and then out of nowhere, let's say the power goes out, the millennials are not going to know what to do. They're oh my god, technology. While the older people are this used to happen back in the day. So they'll just take out a pen and a paper and they'll do what they have to do by hand, and while the other ones are just freaking out, not knowing what to do without technology. I think millennials rely too much on technology, even though technology is what the world is about today. They still need to have the knowledge about how to do stuff by hand. So a question we have to you guys is, how would you bridge the generation gap between baby boomers and millennials?
Anyone? So you're at a workplace and there's old people there and they're no, we don't do it like that. What would you guys come up with lots of ideas or suggestions, or do you think?
Work together.
Because the older people can show you guys maybe how to have good eye contact, shake hands, and sit down at a meeting face to face, whereas you guys might bring a lot of your knowledge with technology to them.
I think that it's all about respect. If you respect one another, then you're going to learn how to work with each other. So I think that's really important in order to make a change in the world.
Alright, how come it was so quiet when they asked for suggestions and ideas? You guys gotta pick it up and feed them a little bit, okay? You're doing your presentation, so you gotta feed the presenters who are asking for some input.
So our topic is interviews,
I'm Chloe.
I'm Dolores.
I'm John.
I'm Colin.
So we're going to start with Chloe, and her topic is going to be how to get ready for it.
Okay, so how to get ready for an interview. First thing, most importantly, you want to do as much research as you can about this job before you go. Just any kind of information you have on this job will be key to having that interview and having that person, I just lost my word, but have that person know that you did do the research. And you want to do that because first off, it'll help you answer any questions the interviewer has, and it'll help you ask really good questions. And they will really respect that you did your information research. Next, you want to make sure you're qualified for that specific position. Like, search what qualities, what skills, anything that specific position has, and see what you have that matches it. Make sure you do that. Make sure you know what that candidate wears. Make sure you know what their attire is so that you can come to the interview dressed appropriately. You don't want to go to like a restaurant job to be a waiter in like a 3-piece business suit. Like, you want to be dressed right. Next thing, you want to practice as much as you can. So call a friend, have her come over and interview you. Another way to do that is you can just go to a job you don't care about. Still try, but you just want to get that practice in before you go to the job that you really want. Make sure you know the area of where you're going. Make sure you know where to park and that you can get there and park and have plenty of time to get to your interview on time. And go to the bathroom before you go to your interview. You don't want to have to be like, sorry, I have to use the restroom right in the middle of it. But yeah, just go in there with a confident head. And next, we're gonna have Dolores talk about what you do in the interview.
So mine was how to act in an interview, and pretty much as how I see it in an interview, it's just a performance you have to do for somebody else. One of the tips that you should do is just make sure to be honest, be yourself, be confident, and be relaxed. Make sure to take a big deep breath if it helps you. Also, as you're getting introduced to other people there, coworkers, make sure to give out your hand, give a good handshake, make eye contact. As you, with your one-on-one interview, make sure to sit up straight, have a good body language, make sure, let them know that you're really interested also, let's see, as they're asking you questions about the job and the way you respond, make sure to give really good detailed answers. Don't give them short little answers as in yes, give more details. And also, and don't be afraid to talk about yourself too. Let them know who you are, what you're good at, your skills, and why you want to be, working there. What are your qualities? What are you going to give them to your job? How are you going to improve them to be a better company or whatever you're going to be? And I think that's about it. So next is Jake.
So my topic is views. And to start off, like Chloe said, make sure that you know the area, and it's better to be a little early than a little late because that could ruin your interview completely. And you're going to start off with a wrong impression, and that's definitely not what the interviewer wants to see you have. And they're going to think it's a tendency and stuff like that. Do some research on the company. See what they're all about, just general stuff like that. So when it comes time to do the interview, it's not like an interrogation, and it's more like a conversation that you're having with the interviewer, as if like you are mutual, like people trying to make this company better. Be polite, please and thank yous, like your mama told you, and always have a smile on your face, and just be confident. When they ask you a question, You generally want to restate a question to them. So an example would be, what qualifications do you have for this job? You can go point 1, point 2, and point 3. And then you can go off by saying something along the lines of, would you like to know more? Or stuff like that. So it's more of a conversation like this, so it's not an interrogation. The interviewer is not there to make you feel bad and stuff like that. It's just trying to figure out who you are. Another thing is, well, just to stay positive and such forth. Next, Colin will be introducing the events.
All right, so the main things you do not want to do during an interview, which are probably the top ones that we listed right here, is you don't want to chew gum. You're going to be paying more attention to the gum than you are to the interview, and it's not really socially acceptable. Like, it's just going to be rude. And yeah, okay. So we put don't wear bright nail polish. In general, you don't want to wear anything too bright or flashy. All it's going to do is, or it could just be very distracting and unprofessional. And so the use of your phone. You may need your phone to help find yourself to the area or whatever, but once you get there, and like, let's just say 5 minutes before your interview, turn it off, just get it out of sight. You don't want your phone to ring during the interview. And then never show up late. That's just a huge thing. You do not want to ask to go to the bathroom. We said that earlier. Go before. Also, you do not want to ask about pay. They know that you want to know how much you're going to be making. Just wait till you get past the interview to see if you're even going to get the job to talk about pay. And yeah. So next we're going to have John talk about how to follow up the interview.
All right, so I've had a lot of personal experience with interviews in the past. I've interviewed for many different positions with several different companies, and actually in the last company that I worked for, I actually conducted interviews for the company. So that being said, I wanted to talk to you about what to do after an interview and what to expect after an interview. So if you have been selected for the position, a lot of companies will expect you to go and to take a drug test within 24 hours of being selected for the position. And after that, they will go ahead and decide on whether or not to hire you. And that'll generally all happen within about 2 to 3 days of you interviewing, if they've gone ahead and selected you. Now, if you didn't get the job, it's not the end of the world. And if it's a company you really like and it's a position that you really like, it doesn't mean that you're never going to get the job. It just means that you're not going to get the job right now. Which leads me to my next point is when to contact the company. Now, after the initial 3 days after the interview, that's when I generally tell people to go ahead and start contacting the company. Usually, I'll tell them to go ahead and start with a phone call, just going ahead and asking about the position, whether or not it's been filled, if they've had time to get to the applications. There's a lot going on with the company, and sometimes they don't get to it right away. One of the things you definitely want to ask them is, how often should I contact you? Can I check back with you in a week? Can I check back with you in a month? What's your preferred type of contact? Phone call, email? What do they like? What's better for them with their schedule that they have going on? I've hired a lot of people that have checked back with me on periodically. They may have not gotten the position right away, but a month or two down the line, they keep emailing me. And I've actually hired some of my better employees a month or two down the line, and I wish I had hired them initially. Coming up to follow-up interviews. Follow-up interviews, that's awesome. You made it through the first cut, congratulations, but you're not at the end of the road. The questioning is going to get way more intense, and they're going to expect a lot more out of you during the second interview, your follow-up interview. This is where you got to stand out. You really need to tell the company, the interviewer, you need to tell them why they have to hire you instead of all the other candidates. And that being said, I'm going to send it back over to Jake for a quick video.
Before we start, this video is just basically about what to expect or how to act and such.
Looking for a new job and going to interviews can be a very stressful experience for some, with the added pressure of getting hired. So here's my top 4 tips for feeling more confident during your interviews. Tip 1. Before any interview, research the employer's website. Find out what they do, who they supply, how successful they are, and why would you be good for the job. Tailor yourself to the job and get hired. Tip 2. Dress well for the interview. Clean your fingernails, polish your shoes, wear something yellow as this is the colour for confidence. Look happy, be polite, take a slow breath before you answer any question. Relax, stay focused and enjoy the experience. Tip 3. Arrive 15 minutes early and get used to your new environment. Take a seat, get a feeling for the place and read any company info around you. And remember to slow your breathing down. Smile, it's time to shine. Tip 4. The latest personal development tools such as the Eft Tapping can help you get hired in record time. When you go to the interview, try gently covering the acupuncture points on your collarbone with your hand. Take a deep, slow breath and just repeat in your mind a few times, I am calm, confident and choose to get hired. These new thoughts will enhance your confidence and belief in yourself to get that job. Learn more about confidence tapping. Go to www.mygenie.tv.
Since you're back here doing it on interviews, what do you do when the person that you're going to get interviewed? What do you do if they're not asking questions? Yeah.
Well, the interviewer is generally going to be asking questions, but if you run into that problem, I would start asking questions. I would start asking about the company, about the position. Just try to get the dialogue going. That would be my best suggestion. That's kind of a tough question. I've never run into an interview where somebody was not asking questions, but
well, I mean, they do, but not as much questions for you to express or do a better job.
Well, we're into that, and that's the thing you said. You do ask questions, or show that you're not interested in the company. And yeah. Any other questions? Thank you.
And it's on the resume and the cover letter.
I'm Chris.
And then Emily.
I'm Chewy.
I'm Alan. So, what is a cover letter? Cover letter is going to be about what is going to be in your resume. Go ahead and start it with fear, sincerity, who you're talking to. Don't put like to whom you may concern, because it might not concern anyone. So go ahead and just put like, if you know who you're writing to, like a
is a resume? A resume is just pretty much like your information, like your name, your phone number, where you can be reached, and your education, your employment, your achievements, like if you're bilingual, your qualities pretty much. And like Chris said before, research on the company, the position that you're applying for, and make sure that some of your qualities and your skills apply to the position that you're applying for.
Alright, so why is a resume important? For one, it proves you are qualified to the employer. Second, it proves you care about the job. And third, it proves you understand the working world.
The lead to resume is pretty much the person applying for the job. Interviews, like go over your past history, qualifications, your past work history, your special certificates that you may have, and shows you are interested and capable on taking responsibilities, shows you have researched and taken the time to explain your achievement and skills.
So who reads the resumes? Depending on jobs, recruiters and hiring managers in the offices will go ahead and take a look at your resume for a little over 30 seconds just to see what you're capable about doing. Depending on some employments, they don't even look at your resume or cover sheet, so it might not be the most important thing, but it does get you an interview, so it could help for your future in obtaining a job.
There's a lot of places you can get help with making a resume. Your counselors, an online template, or just family or friends you know, you can just always ask for help. Have them give you a copy of their resume so you can get ideas off of theirs. And just make sure you include everything that makes you look good. And just make it clear and to the point. Don't put like other things that employers don't need to know about you. It's just pretty much to the point.
Keep it strict to the workforce you're applying for. Like you said, if you're applying to a retail store, you don't have to put your previous, jobs that you used to take care of cats, because it's not necessary to the job that you're looking for or the career you're actually pursuing or applying for. And it's okay to have more than one resume, just because you might be applying for different work fields that you might need.
Oh, and last but not least, I still myself created a fact sheet, interesting facts on resumes. So number one, on average, you only have 30 seconds. That's how long the average recruiter spends scanning each resume. If your resume isn't recognized almost instantly as relevant to the job, it will be tossed. Fact two, if you are a student, it is expected that you keep your resume 1 to 2 pages at most. And that's just on average. Fact three, if you have experience in the workforce that you apply for, try and limit your resume to 3 pages. And if you have had jobs and some irrelevant to the position, then leave some of them out as to not overwhelm or confuse the reader. Fact four, keep your format simple, neat by using consistent font, list, and minimal color. Fancy resumes are often seen as mask for lacking skill set. And fact five, the most important information must be at the top. You want to present information in a way that gets the message through that you are qualified for the job. Fact six, you need multiple resumes. Every resume you attach to a job application must be tailored to that specific job. And fact seven, keywords are vital. Both computers and recruiters scan resumes for keywords connected to the industry. If you fail to use them, your resume may be overlooked. And finally, Just check the spelling and grammar to ensure your resume is perfect. And I brought one for everyone, so you guys want one?